TikTok, it's time to rock. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 5150 show. It's my pleasure to introduce to you, if you guys don't know who he is, he's also known as Johnny, but today we'll call him Johnny Conk. How's it going, John?
Great. How you doing, Andrew?
Look, first thing, bro, thank you for rescheduling for us to get together to do the show today. Originally, ladies and gentlemen, we had this time yesterday set aside to talk about the things that we're going to talk about, but I got inadvertently distracted by having to go in to do some work. So I do appreciate you adjusting your timetable, bro, for allowing us to get together to do this.
Of course. Always.
And like I said to you before, bro, in the green room, I think it's really interesting, and it's good for you and I to get together on the channel to talk about some of the news that's been going down over the last couple of days. We've got some opinions and some thoughts on that, ladies and gentlemen, that John and I want to share with you. And as usual, if you've got any thoughts and opinions as well that you want to voice in the comments in the live stream, please do. Or later, when you're watching the video on replay, give us your thoughts, because John and I are just fans, sharing our opinion about a lot of things connected to Van Halen and music generally. But John, the news over the last couple of days about the new Van Halen package. Got some thoughts there, brother?
Yeah, I mean, I had thought we would have seen it a little earlier. I thought last fall we would have seen it, because everybody basically knew that it was going to happen at some point. You know, it had to. But you and I were just talking about it. It was a genius move of them to release the live album first, because as we know from just history, live albums never sell as well as studio albums just when they're released to begin with. So this was kind of a smart marketing move, because if this is the only Sammy remaster available from Van Halen, people are going to buy it, and it looks like people are buying it like crazy. You know, it's some places you can't even get it anymore. I think so. Other places, I think it's still available in some places, but still, I think it's flying off the shelves there. You know, over the orders.
Well, look, there's a couple of things that I want to share with you guys.
Really?
As far as this package goes.
Greg?
And we'll dig deep into it. We'll dig deep into it. The package here is the same price that I paid for the 24 Nights Eric Clapton package, which has got 6 albums and Blu-rays and a 24-page book. Okay, I paid $400 for that. The re-release, the Van Halen re-release, 4 LPs, John. Same price. It's $400 here in New Zealand plus freight, which will be about $60. It's a lot of money, brother.
It's insanity. It's crazy. I mean, if I guess people, the collectors love it. You know what I mean? But it's tough one for a live album. I'll critique a little bit. A live album that was touched up in the studio, basically, re-recorded in the studio, I guess a lot of it too. So, but hey, listen, it's something anyway, it's the beginning. So.
Yeah. And look, I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's the beginning, obviously, of something great, something good. Van Halen fans have been talking about this for a long, long time. We have been on this channel. In fact, John, the first time you and I touched base and presented a video here live on our channel, one of the things that we spoke about was the 5150 Volt, re-releasing that material or releasing some of that material, or going through remastering the Sammy era stuff. it seemed like a long, long time ago that we were talking about that and this wishful thinking, John. Now it's a dead cert, John.
Yeah, I feel like this is the beginning. They'll do these Sammy era remasters, and as we know, most importantly, that Don Landy is overseeing the whole project here of all the Sammy Hagar era remasters, which is great. And when that's done, obviously, the next step is to start going through the back walls of the studio there, all the tapes that are there, and it just seems, I guess we don't have any confirmation of it, but it just seems obvious that Don Landy will be asked by Alex, most likely, to participate in that, being as that a lot of that stuff he was involved in up until 1988, after 88, 89, really. So from the beginning of that studio till 89, so 82, 83 when they started using it, till 89, I guess, when when they did the renovation, and then they brought Andy Johns in for the next record. So Don Landy was there for 6 years of that stuff, and I mean, he was there when they cataloged a lot of it originally on the computer that broke down and they couldn't fix. So I'm sure Alex is going to want him to participate, because Don may, a lot of people say, oh, Don doesn't remember a lot of stuff, which he probably doesn't, but some stuff may come back to him. And I think just the comfort of having him there is going to make things a little better for Alex when they start to go through all this stuff. So I do believe that he will be asked. If he hasn't, or if there's a plan in place, or maybe there will be, that includes Don in that too. Because really, there's nobody else that should be going through that other than Alex, than Don Landy. He's, basically like the fifth member of the band, really. So
makes perfect sense, John. It makes perfect sense musically, as far as presenting a final product. It makes business sense, which is even more important when you consider, the material that they're sitting on. You've got this interesting theory that you were sharing with me about how, musicians and guitar players and bands like to have legacies, a musical legacy left behind, as far as their projects go. Producers, mixers, and engineers like to be involved and be part of that too, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. Especially somebody as important to them as Don Landy was. From their original, that's the sound. He's, responsible for that original sound on Van Halen 1, and then when you go to 1984, which, I consider that Eddie's masterpiece, that album. And Alex has also said that it was Eddie and Don's masterpiece. And so I think that's more accurate, because Don was so involved in that. I mean, it was him and Eddie, basically. That was their project. And, a lot of that brilliance caught on tape, and just the way it sounds is due to Don. So, I mean, that's why you want a little continuity. So, for the legacy, we're talking about a legacy. He's got to be involved in a lot of those tapes on the, you know what I mean? He's got to be involved in that. It has to be. And I think,
look, I 100% agree with you, and I'd like to say that too. And before we continue this conversation, I'm going to do a quick shout out, brother, because we've got some cool cats in here hanging out with us. We've got Andy Carson in here, Ed in here, Greg Roberts Tune, and Julianne is in here. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. Let us know what your thoughts are too. This is just not a two-way conversation. We'd love to include any of your thoughts and comments on this news that Michael Anthony came out and shared with Trunk, didn't he? He released the news on Trunk. I'm going to throw some questions at you, John. So don't you think it was really, really interesting that Michael said that I can't tell you a lot? So Michael knows everything, but he made it very clear from the word go that he can only tell. He's only going to talk about what he's allowed to talk about.
What he was instructed to say, I guess. So
yeah. What do you think about that before we crack on? What do you think? You got to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of probably how it's always been with Mike. Don't here's what we're doing. Don't say anything to anybody. Okay, but um, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious, what they're doing. I don't know if they're going to release the next ones in order. Is 5150 going to be next, or how are they going to do it? What is the spacing? How many months now before they do the next one? I mean, this is stuff we don't know. But I would imagine I imagine it's gonna fall in line pretty quickly over the next, year. A lot of this stuff's gonna come out. It's all great because first of all, there's finally some movement. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this is the most logical first step. Obviously, Alex is still grieving probably, and maybe it's still tough for him. But this is a no-brainer because you really didn't have to do anything except sign your name on a contract or whatever to release these. They took care of the rest, pretty much. And the fact that Don was involved, and we all knew that Don Landy was going to be involved in this because about a year ago there was a photo of him and Alex, and they were at a studio checking out Dolby Atmos, and I guess Don was learning about that kind of stuff, that technology there. So we all knew that Don was going to be involved in something, and obviously here it is. But I just feel that this is the first step. Like I said, we don't have any confirmation that Don will be involved in any of the going through the, baking the tapes and going through them. I just have a feeling that he will, and that Alex has probably asked him, if he could oversee that too, because there's a lot of stuff to go through there. So at least I'm sure some of it, Don will be involved in that too, which would be great.
Okay, so I just want to do a quick shout out. The Rock Professor's in here saying hello to everybody. Good to see the Rock Professor. I'm going to be back here, ladies and gentlemen, with the Rock Professor and Brad, and we're going to be talking about ranking the tracks, Stones, Some Girls. So come back and join us in about probably 7-8 hours time from now. Hang out with us, and we'll go through that great album. John, I'm glad you mentioned the new Dolby system, because I'm going to go and watch the new Clapton film that's coming out May the 17th, which is going to be released, and the sound system is that new Dolby Atmos sound system. So it's going to be interesting to hear that sound. Do you think after they re-release this LP package of Right Here, Right Now, do you think they'll release the film in studio in the theaters with this new sound system as well? Is that going to be determined by how well the remasters go, or not? You got some thoughts you want to share with us on that?
I just judging from their history and their past, I don't think they will. I don't think that, they never really gave much thought to video, really. I mean, I always scratch my head and look at how much Led Zeppelin, great quality footage and film we have of Led Zeppelin, and we have virtually nothing of Van Halen now, unless there's some other stuff in the vaults. But judging from that, I think, I think it would be asking too much of them from us to release any kind of video. We should just be happy with the crumbs that we get here with the remasters at this point. But I would be shocked if they were doing that. But I think they should. I think not obviously they would do this one, but Live Without a Net is the one I think from that era that everybody would really want to see. Would want to see it maybe restored to the full show, that the things that they edited out of the version that we saw, when it was first released. I mean, I think that would be a big boon for them as far as money. I think that was a lot of people would want that, and so I mean, listen, that's another revenue stream for them down the road too. So, but I'd be surprised if they did the video. It makes sense. So you're absolutely right, Andrew. But I just don't. Judging from the way they work, I don't know. I don't expect it.
I'm gonna contradict you a little bit there. I think that they will, and I'll tell you the reason why I think they will. I've been watching, and we've spoken about this on our Sunday shows with, you mentioned it with Led Zeppelin as a perfect example of Jimmy Page been involved in re-releasing those classic albums, and other bands, other classic rock bands over the years, where they've been re-releasing all the material that they used, the rehearsal material, and a lot of the live material from great concerts as well on these packages. You know, we saw it with the Beatles and with video footage as well. I think they will. I think they'll get to a point, John, where the record company will step in and they'll realise, because it's a business, John, and they'll Andy's made a great comment there. It's a cash grab. Well, it's rock and roll, Andy. It's yeah.
100% right. And you know what? The thing about it is, we're all getting older, and you see 18-year-old, 20-year-old kids, they don't even know who Van Halen is now. Eddie's been gone 3 years. It's just like you talk to a kid in their early 20s, mid 20s. My son's 28, and he obviously knows who Van Halen is, but a lot of his friends and they may have heard of them, they may have known one or two songs, but that's the extent of it. So we're all aging out. So there's no better time than now. You're right, Andrew, for these films to come out and stuff like that. While the people who were there, and enjoyed them when these albums were released and these films were released, while we still have interest in them, you know what I mean? So now's the time to do it, because things fade pretty quickly nowadays, and we're all getting older, and now's the time. It's not 10 years from now. They need to realize that you have still fans right now that are clamoring for this stuff, and now's the time to cash grab or whatever. Now's the time to do it, though.
Yeah. Look, and look. And we're just having a conversation here, folks. And there's a couple of questions there. There's a great question there that the Rock Professors asked. They've already remastered the stuff with David Lee Roth, Simon. So it'll be the Sammy stuff that they go through first, and then, obviously, hopefully the live albums and some of the recordings. Someone's saying they'd love to see the Oakland '81 re-released or released. Who knows what the situation is? I'm just going to share one comment with you guys that I saw a while ago, and Mike Campbell was talking about it on Instagram. And Mike Campbell mentioned it when he was going through some songs. He said, what's really interesting as far as the Tom Petty catalogue goes, and they're re-releasing a lot of that stuff and releasing a lot of the live albums, on Spotify. He said that the management realize and have understood everybody in social media and on social media who are asking for this stuff. So they're delivering what the fans are asking for. And I thought, okay, so this is Tom Petty's management team and record company realizing this. So they're doing this because there is obviously supply and demand, a demand for it. We got to hope that the record companies attached to the Van Halen name are doing the same thing, John.
Yeah, you would hope so. But, Van Halen has never, as the years have gone by, they've been less and less fan friendly over the last 20 years. So I just think any movement by them is just, a monumental thing because they couldn't even finish a record. You know what I mean? It was just like, they that's how dysfunctional things seem to get. And it almost got to the point where I felt that they had contempt for the fans in a way. It sounds crazy, but I do believe that was the case. And at the same time, they had contempt for Sammy Hagar too. It's like, to be honest, I feel like they never remastered any of this over the last 20, 25 years is because they didn't want to let him have any more money or any royalties because they were that angry at him. I always say, the one interview that always sticks with me was that guy recently who became friends with Eddie remember he emailed him. And if you read that article in Rolling Stone there, that's one of the best, the most information. You kind of peek inside Eddie's head in that there, because he was just like, this guy was almost like a therapist for him or something like that. Eddie would vent to this guy. And, he basically said it with David Lee Roth. It was never about money. He was just like the annoying cousin. You know what I mean? And it's just like they would roll their eyes at him, but there was never any deep hatred, like hatred with Sammy. There was, though, apparently, because they felt that they were being used by him. Their name was being used so he could make money and do things for himself. And it all started when their manager died in '93, Ed Loeffler. And after that, everything just unraveled. The thing with the club where it wasn't making money, and then he bought them out, and then all of a sudden he made a lot of money, and then he went to produce the tequila. And, they were very, very bitter about all that stuff. They were very bitter that in the 80s, they didn't make the kind of money that they should have made. They were huge band there, and they didn't make, and when you go around and you see like Bon Jovi's, John Bon Jovi is like worth $250 million, and Eddie Van Halen was worth 180 or 150. It's like, how could that be? You know what I mean? But it is. I mean, Bon Jovi obviously toured Europe and did things Van Halen didn't do. But they were always, I think, bitter that they didn't make the kind of money that they felt they should have made, which they did start making when they did the reunion tours, especially with Roth. They made more money since 2007, I think, than they made in all of the years before that, believe it or not. So, I mean, but when it comes to Sammy, I just believe that they purposely held back they didn't want him to make any money off them. I think they were just kind of sending a message. He's even alluded to that in interviews, that they weren't going there at all, touching that stuff. They didn't even care about it at that point. So.
Yeah, and look, I agree with you. I think your point of view is spot on. Besides taking over Cabo Wabo, besides the rum empire, the tequila empire, he went on to become a best-selling author as well.
Well, that's the other thing, that best-selling book that he put out, that was the final nail in the coffin of Sammy and Van Halen. And I think at the end there, he said he reunited with Eddie. I almost don't even, I believe that he did. And I don't believe it was like phone calls every week and lovey-dovey. I think it was texts here and there, a few texts. And I guess Eddie probably knew what, ultimately, maybe he didn't know what his fate was going to be, but, I think he was just putting things in order in his life and stuff. So he probably figured, let me make peace here. And, which I guess he did, but I don't think it was all lovey-dovey. I don't think Alex has really spoken to him, maybe once on the phone or since Eddie passed away, and he won't return his calls. So what does that tell you? So there's still some bitterness probably there, but that's, I think, the whole thing that held this remaster stuff up. And I guess now they figured it out, and now's the time to do it. Eventually they're going to have to do it at some point, and now's the time. So.
Good point. And we've got a snip of that interview on this channel here, folks, that Michael had with Eddie Trunk, if you guys aren't familiar with it. There's just a couple of things about that snip that really obviously interested me, was the excitement in Michael's voice about the whole project. Clearly he's excited about it. It was an interesting point too, where Trunk asked him when was the last time he'd been at 5150, and he said, 2004. So, he's probably looking forward to being involved to some degree. Who knows? If Don gets involved in it, who knows what he's going to do, John?
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, Ed makes a great point too in the chat. He said Sammy said he can't use any Van Hagar songs on any TV shows unless Alex agrees to license it. So, which is true. He cannot use any Van Halen. He can sing them in concerts. He can perform them, do whatever he wants there. But anything where it comes to like a TV show or something like that, he's not allowed, and they will not sign off on that. So you'll never see him on a TV show or something playing a Van Halen song, any video of that. Because they will not, it's not going to happen. Nope. Alex will shoot it right down. They were shooting it down before Eddie passed away, and they still are. So
will this change though? Will this change going forward with the re-releasing of the?
No, he can perform them. He can go on with Michael and his band and do whatever he wants with them as far as performing them. But any kind of video that they want to use those songs in. Like there's a documentary apparently that was done that's coming out in June.
Yep.
And I guess one episode of this documentary is going to focus on Sammy, but he wanted to use some of the Van Halen music in it, but he's not allowed to use the music. They will not sign off on it. So they still have control where they can do that, even though he co-wrote the songs too. I mean, they're all co-writers on the songs. So, but they won't sign off on it, the Van Halen guys. So they're not going to be able to use them.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We've got a couple of cool cats in the chat. We've got Adam Roach from Australia here hanging out with us. Good to see you, Adam. And Tim, did I shout out to you, Tim? I can't remember if I did or didn't, but I'll shout out to you again, Tim. Great comment there from the Facebook user. And we've been, look, all Van Halen fans have been arguing this for years and years, John.
You know what?
Are you excited to hear anything around a remix on this album?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to remix it. I think they're just going to say it's remastered. But we all know, I'm sure Don Landy knows, Alex knows, that everybody's complaining that you can't hear the bass on it. I think somehow they're going to address it sonically, that you're going to hear more bass. Either they're going to remix it and then remaster it and say they didn't remix it. It's just part of the remaster. That's why you hear more bass, just to kind of save face. Like this is, it's a piece of art. This is how it was. You know what I mean? The Mona Lisa, do you go back and touch her up or anything like that? No, this is how it was. And a lot of people stick by that. Whereas other people say, hey, technology, let's remix it or whatever. But I'd have to think that they're going to boost up the bass there somewhere, just, because people have been complaining about it for 35 years now. So, so.
Yeah.
We'll be interested to see, though. We'll be interested to see.
Yeah. And again, look, I've got to ask this question. Do you think they will attach any video footage to these re-releases that previous artists have done? Do you think they'll go through, as an example, I've asked you this before, the 89 Tokyo concert, which is fantastic, will they clean that up?
Yeah, I don't think they will. I think right now they're just going to focus on the audio side of things. But I mean, it just makes sense, though. You're absolutely right. I hope you're right that they would put Live Right Here, Right Now out. Then, Live Without a Net, like I said, that one would do big numbers. I think that's the one that everybody wants. The Tokyo one sounds amazing, but that one I think is the most re-recorded one out of them all in the studio. That one I know that they did a lot of work on that in the studio, and you can hear it when you listen to that. It's listen to When It's Love. It sounds like you're listening to the album version. They're just lip syncing to it. It's so perfect. But and it's funny because Live Without a Net is the most clean, most untouched one out of them all, and that's everyone's favorite pretty much. So, I mean, if they're really smart, they'll do that right now. They should do it right now as they're like you said, just get it going there. But just knowing them and how they slow they react to things, I just think it's going to be just the remasters right now, and that's it, unfortunately.
So Live Without a Net, do you suspect that they may release that on vinyl and CD and as a separate release? Do you think? Is there a chance?
I think that they should think about doing that, and I think they should go back and remaster that video and restore it back to I don't know why they left You Really Got Me out. I don't know if it was for some kind of permission or royalty reasons or whatever that they didn't include that on there. But that tour, they started the shows with You Really Got Me on that tour. Yep. But there was Good Enough and Dreams. And I've mentioned before in the past that I remember being at those shows on that tour, and Dreams just sounded because there was, he was playing the piano and there was no guitar, and it just didn't, I guess, go over. It just didn't sound great live. You know what I mean? It just didn't sound huge, big, because there was no guitar because he was playing the keyboards. It just kind of sounded a little lacking. It sounded lacking. So, and I think I remember Good Enough also is like, I kind of understood why it wasn't on the video, because I didn't think it transferred over as well live either for some reason. believe it or not. But anyway, and then Rock and Roll Zeppelin and, and Wild Thing or whatever, whatever they were happened to be playing. I guess they just didn't feel like paying the royalties for that. So, maybe we couldn't expect, but maybe they would put You Really Got Me and just repackage it and release that, because they did. That is, they have a history with that song, obviously. So
Awesome.
but
I just want to
I
say
think
hi.
I just think that's a, listen, if they're looking for, revenue streams and the cash in, that's a huge way right there. Like, you could do all three of those videos, or, if they're going to choose one, I would want Live Without a Net to be, either released on vinyl. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yep.
And the video to be remastered, but we'll see, I guess. Right.
Awesome. I'm just going to say hi to Wojtek here. He's a Hamilton guy. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll catch up during the week. Johnny Bean's here. I think, John, I think we're looking at a potential number one when they release Live Without a Net in some kind of format.
If they do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all over the YouTube, you know what I mean? It's just, there's 50 million, some are 60 frames per second. Somebody try to upgrade it and things like that. But, I would like them to, repackage it a little bit and just add some more music and some more songs that we haven't seen. They recorded, I guess, both nights there, I believe, right? At New Haven. I'm trying to remember. I think they did. And, I mean, there's got to be something else. Eddie's full solo, that wasn't the solo that we all see. It wasn't the full solo. It was, we've spoken about this too. It started out with Fure Release by Beethoven.
Yes.
And then actually it started out with that other thing I was talking about. It says like the A minor, G, F chord. It was just a real melodic little piece there. And it goes right into Fure Release. And then a much longer version of what became 316, where Alex came in on the drums, and I believe Mike even came in on the bass. It was kind of like a blues jam for that. And then he went into, the rest of the solo that we see on Live Without a Net. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer. They should listen to us and do what we tell them.
Look, I think they do, and that's the point that I was making, that Mike Campbell made in his Instagram video, John, about how the record company are scanning social media and listening to what the fans are asking. So I'd like to think, that these guys associated with this project are doing that. Look, we're all Van Halen fans. We're all hopeful that they will re-release anything. But I like the point, though, that you made. Re-releasing right here, right now is a move in the right direction, and it's got to be something that we have to celebrate as Van Halen fans. We're all anticipating what could come out, John.
Yeah, I mean, they're really just scratching the surface. I just hope, they're getting their feet wet right now with these remasters. And then I hope they, I know they're going to do well. So, I think but now is the time. It's not 10 years from now. It's not 10 years from now. Now's the time. The same with going through the vaults. Listen, I know Wolfgang wants to do his own career and he's going to leave that all to Alex, which is perfect, which is how it should be. But, there should be a little bit of an urgency to go through those vaults because, like I said, we're all getting older. You know what I mean? There's, and the kids today don't know who Van Halen is. So it's like, you got to kind of like the Hendrix family have kind of nursed Jimi Hendrix's legacy all through these years. And, and he's, revered as this greatest rock guitarist of all time. We need to do the same thing. The same thing's got to be done with Eddie. And I think that the family and the estate need to really think about that. And, you have guys like Chris Gill and people like that who are promoting that legacy and trying to get the word out there, So I think it's something they need to address and they need to really focus on. But now's the time to start doing it.
I'm glad you mentioned Jimi Hendrix because that's a perfect example of the estate and the record company and the management team being involved in re-releasing and releasing information, recordings, video, film footage, John. They've been doing a spectacular job over the last 10, 15 years. It's just remarkable the stuff that we're getting through from one of the giants in rock and roll history.
With a giant with such a short career, when you think about it, he died at 27, and look at
Yes.
all the stuff they've managed to put out. It's mind blowing. That's another one. Like I say Zeppelin, but Hendrix too. It's just like, you got to be kidding me. Somewhere there has to be, quality Van Halen stuff, either that or some kind of compilation that they could put out, a video of like, pro shot stuff here and there, or soundboard recordings.
Well, Michael said it. Michael
Yeah.
said it in his in his trunk interview. There's no politics zone. Forgive me, I didn't say that. You know what I mean. He said they've got, he himself has got all this film himself.
Yeah, exactly. So there's got to be enough that they could put out box sets, you know what I mean? Even if they don't have complete, audio shows and things, but they could do a lot. I mean, and they claim there isn't a lot of stuff, unreleased original songs, but there's enough. There's a few. There's definitely, the Gary Sharon stuff. There's some of that. I heard one of them, and it's good, man. It's really good. It's how the Van Halen 3 album should have sounded. So they have some of those completed songs. They have the Left Off Sammy song from the Twister, and I guess bits and pieces of other songs too. So I mean they could do something really special they really could do something special for the fans. Charge $400 or $500 and put out, a vinyl box set with all kinds of stuff on it,
So if you're a Van Halen fan, folks, this is the time now where you just eat one bowl of rice a day. Save your pennies, because you're going to be spending a lot of money, hopefully over the next ensuing period, John.
Yeah, absolutely. I firmly believe that this is the time they need to start doing this, and they should not wait 5 or 10 more years. Now's the time, while we're still interested. You know what I mean? Because I feel like Van Halen fans have been abused for the last 20 plus years. You know what I mean? It's just like everything was secretive. You never, some bands are very like open, and they just tell you what's going on and things. I don't even mean about his illness or anything like that. That's personal stuff, but just
Sure.
say, hey, give us a little update on what's going on. You know what I mean? With the band or anything like that, or, but they like I said, it seemed like they had contempt for the fans over the last, 2 decades. So, now's the time to, like, while you still got, I feel like we're puppy dogs and getting hit in the nose with the newspaper. You know what I mean by them? And we keep coming back for more. We keep coming back for more, wagging our tails. But it's like now it's time for them to throw us a bone.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree with you. You and I have spoken about this a few times live on our channel here. Being a Van Halen fan definitely is a badge of honor for a lot of us. Exactly because of what John has said, ladies and gentlemen. There's been a lot of bands out there which keep their fans in tune, up to date with everything that's going on, as far as the music goes, as far as the business goes. But us Van Halen fans have heard and had nothing, as John said, for over 20 years.
It's incredible that we're still hanging on here, and for the output that they've had. Like Eddie Trunk always mentions that. It's like in 25 years they've put out like 2 albums, and one of them was half of old re-recorded demos from the early years. You know what I mean? So it's like they're it's just amazing how little they've actually released, and we're still like coming back for more, like hoping that so now's the time where they can reward their fans for their loyalty and really do it right.
Just one more point on this subject before we throw up some interesting picks that John has passed on to me, folks. I thought it was interesting too. Trunk mentioned the package, the Van Halen 1 package that he heard a few years ago that was apparently imminently coming out for imminent release or whatever. And if I remember rightly, I'm just using my memory here, Michael said that's that will come too, or something. That's yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right. I think, they'll do these Sammy ones first, and then undoubtedly they'll be successful, and then they're going to go back again and start doing the box set. So I think this is the beginning. I think it's going to happen, but I just hope they do it big, go big or go home. You know what I mean? It's just like, now's the time to empty out the vaults and just, promote and protect the legacy of Eddie moving forward, the way it should be. It shouldn't be, I shouldn't be seeing these magazines. Like, I forget where I wrote a letter to somebody the other day, and Eddie wasn't even included in their list of greatest guitar players at all. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I wrote him a nasty letter, some magazine, I forget where it was from, but I mean, that stuff can't happen. You got to be kidding me,
yeah, well, there's a lot of parallels, folks, that we can use, to justify or to reinforce why Van Halen as a business, as a music project, should be doing this stuff. And I just want to add one little piece to this whole big puzzle of the music business. Look at Brian May, the guitarist for Queen, and look at the way that he's looked after that whole legacy of the stuff that he's done with Queen, with his own independent re-releases. And I've had a friend of ours on the channel. We've interviewed him, John, from the Red Special podcast. Now, the Red Special podcast have just had a hookup in America, and all these young guys, these Brian May guys who are inspired by Brian May playing their Red Specials. These young guys, and when I mean young, like 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old young guys inspired by this guitar player, they've even got hair like Brian May, and they're hot. And I'm going, this is what it's about. Yeah.
They're doing something right if you're seeing the younger generation, like, buying the Red Specials and the Vox AC30s and doing that, then you know that they're doing right. That's another band. That's number 3 here. We got Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, and now we got Queen, and they're all doing it right. And Van Halen needs to do that. They need to put the right people need to be in charge of this stuff, and just, and fostering the whole thing, their whole career and their output and all their work, and just, like, getting the younger generation involved in it so they know who he is. You know what I mean? So he's not just a Jeopardy question, an answer for a Jeopardy question.
Yeah. We've got a couple of people that have jumped in to say hi to us, John. We've got our very, very good friend here from Australia, John ZD351's in the chat. Patty Dill, good to see you, Patty. And Hellface is here. Look, Greg's asked one question about how we would remix, or how I would remix the Van Halen thing. The first thing I would do, and John's already mentioned it, Greg, is go through and add some sonic bass, some bottom end to OU812 first. That's a given. I couldn't be involved in that, but that's, if I could ask one thing that they could do, I'd say go ahead and do that, Greg. Kubrick Lover is here as well. Look, we're just getting together, folks. We're just fans talking about this exciting information that came through a couple of days ago. We've been pushing and arguing for that on this channel for a long, long time. As I said at the beginning of the show, when John first came on our channel, one of the things we spoke about for half an hour was the Van Halen Vault, and we're just continuing this conversation 2 years later. Yeah. And as information becomes more and more available, we'll be jumping on, and we'll be just sharing our thoughts and opinions with you guys. If you want to be part of that, let us know. If you want to come on and give us your opinions and thoughts, let me know. Let John know, and we'll try and work something to get you on here. We're all about collaborating. If you want to be a part of what we do, we're not saying we're experts, John.
It's all opinions. Everybody's got one.
Yep. And that's all we're doing here on this channel. John, so how about I flick up some photos that you sent me, and we'll have a bit of a quick chat about that. Give me a second, folks. Sure. Where are we? We go here. So this is the package that, I'll get rid of that banner, that we've been talking about $400 here in New Zealand, plus $50 freight for that for this package. It's a lot of money. Do you want to you want to go through the grey or the red? What do you want to do first, John? The grey or the red?
It does, either one doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna fire these up, and John's going to talk to you guys about this wonderful car.
Yeah.
What do we got here, John?
Well, that's Eddie's car that he got as a wedding gift from Valerie back in 1981. I think we all know, we've all seen it or heard it. I think I have a picture of him at the corner of Coldwater Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. Somebody took a picture as he was turning left on the Ventura Boulevard. It's one of these pictures coming up. He drove that car all the time, every day. So actually, can you freeze on that one right there, Andrew? So
Yep.
Eddie sold his car collection off in like 2018, I believe. And I think he got about $1.6 million for the Miura. There were only about 750 of those ever made. That was the first supercar, if anybody knows. It's just, and it's still considered by many people the most beautiful automobile ever made. He had a special one. It was a factory wide body version. It was, if you look, the rear wheels, it was wider, the fenders out there where the air intakes were. See, you can see behind the door there, see the air intakes, it's wider. So if you see a regular Miura, it doesn't look like that. Eddie put wider tires on it. Okay, so see, these pictures I'm showing you here are, these are photos of the car right now from Italy. It was repainted. They were going to repaint it green. John Tamarian from the Curated YouTube channel, they have a place in Miami. They buy old Lamborghinis, old Italian sports cars, all different types of sports cars, and they refurbish them and they sell them and things like that. And they purchased this car. This is all the repainted. They were going to paint it green back to its original color when it was built, but they didn't. Lamborghini suggested that they keep it to honor Eddie, keep it red, which they did. So here are the photos of the car. You can see it's got a new interior in there. See the new seats, new steering wheel. I'm sure. So you can see the dashboard's being wired up here. So this is from I think it's Polo Storico in Italy. These are sneak peek photos that I got of the car. It's going to be unveiled in August, I believe, at Monterey. They have a big Lamborghini festival there, and they put the original tires on it, which are smaller, and it kind of looks lame. And one of the pictures you could see how the rear tire, it comes all the way to the edge of the fender there. It sticks out kind of far. On one of the other pictures, Andrew, I don't know if you see it in there, you'll see that it's got the factory tires in it. Not this one. This is before they send it to Italy to be refurbished. There's one of the other pictures I had in there. I think you might have shown it already, but this is one of the new pictures with the new paint. And let's see, I had a couple others with the new paint there. No.
Okay, so those. Okay, maybe I didn't.
But he drove this car pretty much, like every day. This is his everyday car to go to the vape shop or wherever he was going. This is the car that he would drive, and it's a $1.6 million car, which is amazing. Nobody does that. And these cars had a thing. I saw somebody in Great Britain was buying one. A guy, he was retired and he had money, I guess, and he brought his wife to see the car. And she noticed that there were like 4 fire extinguishers in it. And she said to her husband, "Is there something I should know about this car?" And he's like, "Well, yeah. So, apparently it has 12 carburetors, and they, the fuel would spill out of the carburetors and hit the block, and I guess it would ignite, and the cars would go on fire." And that's just a common thing that would happen with these cars. And I know it did happen with Eddie. There's a video on YouTube of one of his mechanics talking about how he had to drive up to his house and have to tell him to open the gates that the car was on fire, and they had to meet him there with the fire extinguisher to put it out, which they did. It's on YouTube. You can find that video of the guy talking about it. But Eddie also had fuel injectors put on his Miura, which is, I think, the only Lamborghini Miura in the world that had fuel injection. Obviously, it's been taken off now and restored back to its, the way it was originally built. I don't know what's going to come to the car. I think somebody else may have purchased it, but I know they're going to unveil it in August. But those were just a couple sneak photos, and they are keeping it obviously the red color to honor Eddie, so which is kind of cool. And then the other, Andrew, you got those other shots too?
Just give me 1 second, bro. I'm just going to upload this. Give me give me 2 seconds. I missed this one here, folks. The one that this one here.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's at the Ventura Boulevard by Sharky's, and I guess somebody saw him driving the car, and they took a picture of it. I thought that was kind of cool at the light by the supermarket, Ralph's, right over there. And there's so this is another car. This is a 2016. This is in his driveway, believe it or not. It's a Porsche 911 GT3 RS, and it's going up for auction in May. I got to go check the car out. It was here in Connecticut. It was here in Connecticut, yeah. And so I took all these photos of it here. But it's going on Mecum auction in May. So everybody watch, I think the second or third week in May from Indianapolis. This car is going to be auctioned there. I think it was the sticker on it I noticed was, I think, 225,000. And then Eddie had the suspension redone, and you can see the roll cage inside of it. And it was just a fierce looking car, man. It was beautiful, really beautiful. So
got any idea on what it could go for?
Yeah, I heard one estimate over 300,000, and then I heard one that they said it could be way more because, you know, it was one of his last sports cars that he had, and it's basically a race car. You know, he had it set up that way. So, but it was beautiful car.
Didn't a guitar of his that he didn't really play go for a couple of million?
Right. And isn't it ironic? Because I said, I was thinking about that the other day, and I said I would have rather much have bought the Miura for 1.6 million instead of the $4 million guitar that was never on any album. At least the Miura is on an album, right? It's on Pound. You can hear it. A lot cheaper.
Stunning photographs, Don. Stunning photographs. These are your photographs, brother. Fantastic.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I was lucky to get in there. They were really nice, and they let me go check it out. So that's American Motor Car, and they're in Connecticut. They're like a high-end storage place, and I mean, they got some pretty amazing cars in storage there. I guess, you know, all the wealthy people that live in Manhattan and in Greenwich, Connecticut probably store their, you know, Lamborghinis and things like that there for the winter. And it's an amazing place, a brand new facility, and they had the car, which I was kind of like shocked. So I wanted to go check it out. So I spoke to somebody, and they were like, yeah, come on in. So they let me in.
Fantastic. Your contacts are wonderful. And if anybody buys these two cars and wants to come on our channel here and talk about it and show it off, you're more than welcome.
Exactly.
Let John know.
Yes. But follow Mecum auctions here in the States. They usually televise them in, you know, every month or every other month, whenever they have them. But it's in Indianapolis, Indiana in May. That car is going to be shipped from Connecticut to Indiana. And the Miura, like I said, in August, we'll follow up on that, Andrew. You know, we'll follow up on both of them, I guess. You know,
sure. Yeah. Definitely. You know, we're attached. We're gearheads here as well, and metal heads, and car heads, and engine heads. I'm going to drop you and I out so that people can see this photo behind us, and I want you to talk about, because you and I are coming back next week with Jimmy to talk about this thing behind us. So I'm going to drop us out and then put us back in. So if you give people a sneak peek on what we're going to be talking about next week, should be a bit of fun. When Jimmy's on the channel, it's always going to be a bit of fun, isn't it? So
yes. Guitars. We're not 8 feet tall. Those are miniature guitars.
You got a guitar there, so maybe you can talk about that, show your guitar, and we'll end the show. What do you reckon?
Yeah, sure. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, I want to show you this one. Look at this guy.
Oh! Wow.
So this, believe it or not, a great guy named Jerry Leica. A lot of people know him from the boards and the shows. Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry's an incredible guitar builder. And and I'm friends with Jerry, and we talk. And Jerry one day, just in the conversation, asked me my address. So in the minute, I just said, "Oh yeah," I gave him my address. And I didn't think anything more of it in the conversation. So a couple of weeks later, a box arrives, and in the box was this body for the guitar.
Oh,
And Jerry's a very generous guy. He does crazy things like this for people like me, just randomly, because I guess he knows that we'd appreciate it. And
yeah.
he's just a wonderful guy. And I want to thank him, Jerry. Thank you again. So I ordered a neck, a bird's eye neck from Lock Custom Guitars, and
Oh,
yeah. So I just got the neck last week from Chris Lock, a beautiful neck, and I put it together. And man, this thing is beautiful. It weighs about 10 pounds. It's like Jimmy Vomvis heavy, the way he likes guitars. It weighs a ton, but it plays amazing. It really is. It's a beautiful, amazing guitar. And I want to thank Jerry again for sending me that. This body was painted by the Kid, the legendary Kid, the Kid.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's just a beautiful, really beautiful guitar. So thank you, Jerry, again. Shout
Well
out to
done,
Jerry.
Jerry.
Does amazing, builds amazing guitars. He's a drummer. He's into guitars. He's a huge Van Halen fan. He's just a
Yep.
great guy. Jerry's a great guy. So I want to thank
If
him
you
again.
ever want to get Jerry on to hang out with us,
I
John.
I tried to talk him. I said, Jerry, you got to come on, because Jerry's like,
Yeah.
he builds the bodies himself for his guitars. If he's making like a Strata or something like that, he builds the body for the guitars he's making. That's how into it he is. So, and he's a shy guy. I said, Jerry, you got to come to EVH Con. You got to come to there. And he's like, I don't know. He's very shy. So, but we one of these days we got to get him. Everybody knows Jerry. I mean, a lot of people know Jerry. So Adam Roach needs a Jerry in Australia. So Jerry, if you're watching this, or if you do watch the replay of this, you got to go to Australia for Adam. All right. And let me grab that other guitar for you. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, folks, for joining us. Always a great time when John Conklin's on the channel. Next week, as I said, we'll have John and Jimmy on the channel talking about something special. I'll leave that to John, though, to tell you all about that.
So this is a miniature, Frankenstein 78 that I put together. It was very easy to do. I did two of them. I did one for Jimmy. In the photo, you could see Jimmy and myself just for fun. Jimmy's band they're usually playing Connecticut. I'm in New York, but they were playing like 15 minutes from where I am in New York. So Jimmy said, hey, come down and jump up, play a song with us. So I said, so at the time I'd been messing around with a patch on the Kemper amp for little guitars and the Eventide, and I got it really, really close. You have a video of it up on your channel
That's on the channel, yes.
Yeah, of that. So I got the sound down pretty good on there. So I made these two guitars for Jimmy and I, and his band was playing there last week, and I got up and played with his band. We did little guitars. Jimmy also played on it too. He did the slide part, in the middle. It sounds like the whales crying, that part. He did that. And then at the very end, where the second guitar comes in on the album, just with the chords, Jimmy did that too. So it sounded pretty cool there. So we have video of that stuff too, but we'll talk about that all next week. But anyway, these are just the Fender Minis. They're like $179, these guitars. So what I did is, obviously I painted it. The guitar center has them with the maple necks. So if a lot of them had the rosewood. That's why I thought about it 10 years ago. I was like, it would look lame because it had a rosewood fingerboard. But now Guitar Center, they made them for especially for them with maple. So I was like,
Right.
killer. So it's just a cool novelty to hang on the wall, really. But it actually works pretty well. And you'll see next week, I guess we could show some video clips. Or I'm actually on your channel. I'm using it. But I went to Stuart McDonald, where you can get the guitar parts and things. And I bought the pickguard material, and I made the pickguard for it. I put a humbucker in it, and Craig Stofko actually wired it up for me, and that's it. And it's pretty cool, and it'll look cool hanging on a wall. It's it's a miniature version for a little over $200. You could do it yourself, and it was kind of fun. It didn't take long, and it was great. Jimmy's gig was great. We'll talk about it next week. you know, it went really well. And they're there. I think he's going to be back playing there. They're going to be back playing there again. Guys in his band are great. I had met all of them except the bass player before, and he's a great guy. I just met him, but yeah, it was a real fun night, and we'll talk about that next week. But
yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait because, as you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, you know, Jimmy is as this. I don't know who's making this comment on Facebook, but love Jimmy. He too, he gets it. Of course he does. You know, and yeah. Let us know who you are, Facebook user. But yeah, it's always a pleasure to get Jimmy on the channel.
Yeah.
We look forward to that. We'll be talking about Kempers, tones, mini
Jimmy's
guitars.
big Kemper guy. In the photo in the back, you could see he talked me into getting a Kemper. Well, him, and then obviously Haas. After that 2019, that Van Halen one, I think Haas sold a lot of Kempers for Kemper. Believe it or not, Kemper should be thanking Haas, because that amazing video. It's incredible that you can just turn that thing on there and put the profile in, and you sound like, you know, you're playing Van Halen 1. You don't have to do anything. It's there for you, and it sounds incredible. So,
well, you and Jimmy have been advocates as well too on the channel. You know, Jimmy is passionate about the tones that he gets and the little bit of tweaking. He doesn't do a lot of tweaking, but you know, a little bit. But he's passionate about what it can deliver for a guy that's in a very, very good tribute band.
Yeah, I think Jimmy says it's like, it's not a, you know, real tube amp, obviously, but it's 95% of that sound. You know what I mean? It's you can really pull it off. It's just amazing, you know. And when you hear people like Mark Knopfler, I think he was using it on a tour recently. So, yeah, I mean, that's all I need to know, you know. It's great. It is. It's excellent. So we'll talk more about that next week, though. But we have more pictures and stuff.
Hey, folks, thanks for hanging out with John and I. It's always a pleasure. We're excited. We're Van Halen fans. We just wanted to get together and share with you guys, obviously, the great news that Michael released a few days ago about the Vault being released, Don Landy coming on board, everything that we've been arguing amongst ourselves and advocating, you know, on this channel and other channels for a long, long time. John's finally getting movement. So that, you know, that deserves us getting together and celebrating and talking about, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It definitely does. And like I said, this should just be the beginning. So hopefully they do the right thing.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to just go through and do a quick shout out to everybody. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to do it because you guys are fantastic. So Greg Roberts Tune, thank you for hanging out with us. Julianne, wonderful comments. Thanks for supporting our channel. John ZD351, look forward to you, brother, jumping on and hanging out with us when this material gets released. John will have some great insider information and opinions on the subject too, we know that. Paddy, thank you, Paddy, for hanging out with us. Adam Roach, go and check out Adam's channel. Great guy from Australia as well. Kubrick Lover, fantastic, bro, been with us right from the start. Thank you. Christopher Live Sawa, another fantastic guy. Andy Carson, thank you, bro. Jimmy Ray Hawkins, thank you for supporting our channel. Always appreciated. Tim Thomas was here. The Rock Professor was here. Johnny Beam was here, hanging around with us for a little while. I think we've got everybody. If I have missed you, I apologize. Come back next week and hang out with us if you're into Van Halen. Or in about 6-7 hours' time, if you're into the Rolling Stones, I'll be here with the Rock Professor and Brad. Going to give you, John, the last word, and we'll get out of here.
Yeah, well, like I said, hopefully this is just the beginning of some great things over the next year or two with Van Halen, if they don't screw it up, if they just do the right thing for the fans. And don't forget to tune in later to the show.
Awesome. Hey, Bent, good to see you, brother. Bent Tom's in here saying hi. Good to see you, brother. Thank you for the great support too. We're out of here. We're going to get ready. John's got some John stuff to do, so.
Pouring rain here.
Where's this bloody video? Here it is. Okay. Which one? This one here. Bye.